Hello and welcome everyone to yet another interesting episode of Polity Primer. My name is Pragya and today we are going to discuss a very important topic which remains in the news often. The title of our today's discussion is Committee of Privileges. In this discussion, we'll firstly study about what are parliamentary privileges. Then we are also going to analyze what are the rules governing these parliamentary privileges. Then we are also going to see what is the privilege committee. Then we are also going to analyze what is the role of speaker or the chairman of Rajya Sabha in breach of privilege case. Then in the end we are going to see a practice question for your prelims examination and a practice question for your mains examination. So if I talk about the background of our today's topic, in the recent ongoing session of the winter session of the parliament, there have been various privilege motions issued against the MPs, because there are clashes going on between the ruling party and the opposition, and we'll study about what are parliamentary privileges and how does a breach of privilege is examined by the privilege committee. So this brings us to the moot question of our today's discussion, that what exactly are the parliamentary privileges. So if you try to understand it in very simple terms, so you have MPs and MLAs, so they have certain rights, they have certain immunities and they have certain duties which cannot be breached, so as they can function very independently, and these rights, immunities and special exemptions that are granted to them are collectively known as the parliamentary privileges. So parliamentary privilege refers to rights, immunities and exemptions enjoyed by parliament as an institution. Both of the house of the parliament enjoy these parliamentary privileges, and MPs in their individual capacity, without which they cannot discharge their functions as entrusted upon them by the constitution. So it is very important that they remain independent on the floor of the house, and that is why they are guaranteed these rights and exemptions and immunities, which are known as parliamentary privileges. If you ask me about the history of these parliamentary privileges, they definitely date back to the colonial era. The first legislation in this regard was made in 1833 when the Governor's Council was rearranged. Then the Government of India Act 1935, Government of India Act 1935 also talks about the freedom of speech and expression of the MPs and MLAs on the floor of the house. So they recognize the parliamentary privileges, and since then we have started recognizing them. So definitely they share a colonial history. Now you'll ask me, ma'am, what is a breach of privilege? Because it is very important to understand a breach of privilege. Okay, so when any of the parliamentary privileges or when any of the rights, immunities and exemptions given to the parliament as an institution as well as MPs in their own capacity is disregarded, the offence is called a breach of privilege and is punishable under the law of parliament. So if we talk about the breach of privilege in very simple terms, it means the violation of privilege that has been granted to the MPs and the MLAs, and definitely as each house is the guarantor of the privileges, they can take action. A notice is moved in the form of a motion by any member of either house against those being held guilty of breach of privilege, and this notice is known as the privilege motion. Privilege motion, and this has to be moved before 10 a.m. in the house. 10 a.m. in the house. So what will the MP do? It will move a privilege motion. It will move a notice that yes, it recognize that there has been a breach of privilege. So this notice is known as the privilege motion. Now let us discuss what are the rules governing the privileges. The Constitution under Article 105 mentions two privileges, that is freedom of speech in Parliament and right of publication of its proceedings. Not only this, the Code of Civil Procedure 1908, the Code of Civil Procedure 1908 states that an MP or an MLA cannot be arrested 40 days before the beginning or the ending of each session. So this is also a kind of privilege that is given to the MPs and the MLAs. Rule number 222 in chapter 20 of the Lok Sabha rule book, and correspondingly rule 187 in chapter 16 of the Rajya Sabha rule books governs the privilege. As I have mentioned before, both the houses enjoy privileges. Not only Article 105, Article 194, Article 122 and 212 also talks about these parliamentary privileges. A member may, with the consent of the speaker or the chairperson, raise a question involving a breach of privilege either of a member or of the house, and this question is being debated on the floor of the house by the speaker or the chairman. Then they refer it to a privilege committee. So what exactly is a privilege committee? In the Lok Sabha, the speaker nominates a committee of privileges consisting of 15 members as per respective party strengths. So the committee examines the breach of privileges, is tasked with examining the breach of privileges. It has 15 members in the Lok Sabha and 10 members in the Rajya Sabha. 10 members in Rajya Sabha. A report is then presented to the House for its consideration. After examining that whether there has been an actual breach of privilege or not, a report is being submitted by this privileges committee to either to the speaker of the Lok Sabha or to the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, in whichever house the breach of privilege has occurred. Okay, the speaker may permit a half-an-hour debate while considering a report, and the MP is also, empowered to speak during that debate. So this is what is happening, and the privilege committee is tasked with examining the breach of privilege either of a MP or of the house collectively. So it is tasked with examining breach of privileges. Moving forward, the speaker may then pass final orders or direct that the report be tabled before the house, and ideally it should be presented before a house if no time period is mentioned within 1 month. Within 1 month. Okay, a resolution may then be moved related to the breach of privilege that has to be unanimously passed. So this resolution has to be unanimously passed by the house. Okay, in the Rajya Sabha, the deputy chairperson heads the committee of the privileges that consists of 10 members, as I have explained to you before. So this notice is being debated on the floor of the house, the report is being debated on the floor of the house, and then it is sent to the house for consideration. If passed, then definitely you can be penalized for the breach of privileges, whoever has breached the privilege of either an MP or the house. So these were the main functions of a privilege committee. Now let us understand what is the role of the speaker in the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha chairman in this regard. So the speaker in the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha chairperson is the first level of scrutiny of a privilege motion. The speaker chairperson can decide on the privilege motion himself or herself or refer it to the privileges committee of the parliament. So both the scenarios can happen. Either they can take suo motu cognizance, they can decide themselves, or they can refer the matter to the privileges committee of the parliament. If the speaker chairperson gives consent under Rule 222, the member concerned is given an opportunity to make a short statement, because everyone has a right of free hearing in the house. So if a member is charged for breaching the privilege of the house, then definitely he has the opportunity of being heard fairly, and he will be given an opportunity to speak in his defense. So this was all about the privileges committee, parliamentary privileges, and how exactly the committee functions in both in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, and what is the role of the speaker of the Lok Sabha in Lok Sabha, and what is the role of speaker of Rajya Sabha in the case of breach of privileges. We have understood it all. With this, we come to a conclusion of our today's discussion. We have seen that what exactly are parliamentary privileges. Then we have also seen that what is a privilege committee, what are the rules governing these privileges, and we have also examined that what exactly happens, that a privilege motion is passed, it has to be produced given to the house before 10 AM, then it is discussed, a report is put forward to the house, and then it is examined. So now let us see a practice question for your prelims examination. So the question is, consider the following statements. So statement number 1 is, parliamentary privileges are subject to Article 19 Clause 2 of the Indian Constitution. Your statement number 2 is, immunity is available both in civil and criminal cases. Which of these statements given above are correct? Your options are, option A is 1 only, option B is 2 only, option C is both 1 and 2, and option D is neither 1 nor 2. Kindly drop your answers in the comment box below. Now let us analyze a practice question for your mains examination. So the question is, discuss the significance of Privileges Committee in investigating breach of privileges. So firstly, you will write what are parliamentary privileges. You will talk about the rules governing the parliamentary privileges. And then you will mention that each house has its own privilege committee. In Lok Sabha, it has 15 members. In Rajya Sabha, it has 10 members. And definitely, whenever a scenario happens about the breach of privilege, this committee is tasked with examining the breach of privileges, and then it submits a report. But you will read that there had been hardly any punitive actions taken, and actions have been taken in very less circumstances. The most famous cases being the expulsion of Indira Gandhi, expulsion of then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in 1978 and expulsion of Subramaniam Swamy in 1976. So these are two famous cases regarding punitive action in case of breach of privileges. So you can mention this, that it happens in very rare circumstances that an action is taken against them. Okay, so you can conclude very holistically that yes, each house is a guarantor of its privilege and definitely has the power to take punitive actions, but they have not been taken in a majority of cases, and only in rare cases the actions are being taken. I hope this session was insightful for you. If you have any feedback regarding this session, kindly drop it in the comment box below. If you liked today's discussion and found it to be helpful, kindly like the video and subscribe to our channel for more such updates. Thank you.